While Ryan Day was coasting through National Signing Day with his class all sewn up, his rival was taking a recruiting visit to Minneapolis. And this may be the thing that Ohio State fans want to talk about most. We've got about 15 minutes or so. So, man, who wants to dive into this one first? Because I tell you that my short comment on this will be, because I've talked about it for hours and hours and hours. So if anybody wants to hear what I've had to say, it's out there all over the place. I cannot believe that Michigan would allow its coach to go out for 35 days, 5 weeks, and meander across the country and be wined and dined by, and I know maybe he wasn't physically in all these places, but by 3 different NFL franchises, and not put some kind of ultimatum down to say, hey, we're going to allow you some freedom, explore your options, get back to us sooner. The NFL season was over the first week of January, and 2 of those 3 teams did not make the playoffs, and 1 lost the first playoff game. So anyway, the Jim Harbaugh situation is apparently the wayward son has come home, and they've got their arms stretched out wide open to embrace him, Kevin, and Jimbo's back to be in the maize and blue.
I'm really struggling here because I was told if I don't have anything nice to say, not to say anything at all. But if that were the case, I would never say anything about anything. So, sorry, Jack Cohn. You know, a 9-hour interview and you don't get the job offer. You tell everybody, you go and you do this interview on National Signing Day. I don't care if the hay's in the barn. I don't care if your class is done. Just the perception of doing the interview on National Signing Day, going around and reportedly, because there's a lot of reportedly in this whole story. So I don't want to sit there and try and pass a report off as facts, but people were under the impression that he certainly wanted to go and get back to the league, and he felt very good that he was going to get this job. Well, just because you get the second interview doesn't mean you always are going to get the job. Somebody's generally going to finish in second place with the silver medal in this case. So he goes and has his 9-hour interview and doesn't get the job. I mean, within an hour and a half of it coming out, another Sean McVay disciple is linked to the job. I mean, and there you go. Sun goes up, sun goes down. That one's done, and now he has to go back with egg on his face and be like, well, don't worry, there won't be any more of these NFL dalliances like that. I'm not going to be looking around anymore for any of that moving forward, as he loses Mike McDonald back to his brother and the Baltimore Ravens, as he loses so much of his productive players from the 21 season. And, I think the funniest thing is that there are a lot of Michigan fans on social media and on message boards that were frantically deleting messages and tweets and everything else. And all they can say now is 42-27 because that's all they got. So I think it's hilarious. I really think it's hilarious. I know I'm saying all sorts of things that I was told not to say as a child, but if you write about sports, this is a gold mine. If you're an Ohio State fan, this is a gold mine. I think if you're a fan of anybody other than Michigan, this is a gold mine, because this is an untenable situation.
Well, they have no president. They forced him out, and the athletic director is a former teammate of Harbaugh's, so he probably just abides the whole thing. It kind of shows that they just have no self-respect at this point and really don't have a plan. If he's not the coach there, who would be the next coach there? I guess Matt Campbell or somebody. I don't know, but it just – And in one hand, he did lead them to their best season in forever, first Big Ten championship since 2004. But it isn't like the season ended on some kind of great high note, because they got just absolutely embarrassed by Georgia in the playoff game. So I don't know. I try not to get too wrapped up in all this Ohio State, Michigan back and forth. He said, she said. look at them, they look stupid, type stuff, because it's a rabbit hole that you can fall into and never find your way out of with all this material that's out there. But I guess this isn't something that would have been accepted even 10 years ago, but in 2022, I guess this is kind of the state of the world, that this guy kind of has them wrapped around his finger, and they can't picture life without him. And I think that's he's them and they are him. So he did have one good year out of 7, and entitled to see what else is out there. I mean, loyalty is a two-way street. And last year, within their right, they kind of pulled back from him a little bit. And so this is his version, I guess, of pulling back from them a little bit, with the salary cut and the changes that had to be made after last season. So I don't know. It is amusing. It certainly doesn't help the short or the long-term prospectus, I think, for the University of Michigan football program. Good luck trying to get great players to play there when you have, what is the stability? You just don't know. So that's my take on it. Just more amused and just kind of like, this is what it's really come to up there, huh? They really don't have any remaining self-respect or self-esteem that they're worthy. I don't know. It's weird.
If Bo Schembechler was the AD right now, Jim Harbaugh's not being let back into the building.
No,
we saw him do that 23 years ago or whenever with Bill Freed.
Yeah.
But this at this point is it's a marriage of inconvenience. Michigan couldn't get anybody better last year, so they stayed with him. Harbaugh this year couldn't land with somebody better, so he comes back, and now they're just living in the same house, really annoyed by each other, but having to stick together, not even for the kids. Like, they're just sticking together for the health insurance at this point. And right now the money is such a way that they can't get a new place. They can't get a second place. So right now they're just, it is what they're going to try to make the best of it. And there's going to be some good days. There's going to be some rough days, but you know what? You power through. Nobody has everything that they want. It's, nothing is ever given to you as you deserve. There's tough times for everybody. For me, he took Michigan as far as he can, and essentially as far as Michigan goes. This is what Michigan has always been. People say that Jim Harbaugh has been a disappointment at Michigan. He has been what the best coaches before him have been. He has been what Lloyd Carr was. He has been what Bo Schembechler was. And you get him to a point, but that the playoffs, I mean, nobody expected that this year. And for him to get him there, fantastic. I don't expect that to happen again next year. I don't know that he is a national championship winning coach. I don't believe he is. Now, could somebody else come in and do better? I think there's a number of guys who could come in and do what he has done. And now that you know what he is capable of, now would have been an okay time to go ahead and see what somebody else could have done. Because Steve says that the standards are this, they're okay with this. What this has been, they're okay with. They didn't really like it last year, but they stuck with it because for all of their separate reasons that they also would have been justified in going another way. And now he did even better, but I don't think it's going to dip again. And this is your existence. If this is what you want, you've got a program that is not going to get where you think it should be, even though it's where it's always been. You've got a coach who hoping to leave, actively searching out somewhere other to be than with you. But you know what? You were doing the same thing kind of last year. And so now it's like, well, nobody's really happy. And you've tapped out all of the potential, and now your defense and your defensive coordinator are gone. And Yeah, I'm sure. You know what? Everything's going to be fine. He's going to attack with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind, rebuilding this relationship and getting everybody on the right foot. And I just wonder how disappointing this was for him, where he thought he would be in the NFL today, and now you've got to go back to Michigan. Not only he can, I've seen people say, well, that's going to be awkward. It's like, well, he is awkward himself. So
he's the king of awkward.
Right. That's fine. It's just a disappointment and getting shot down like that. Does that drive him? Does it bother him? I'm sure it bothers him, but can he just forget about it and move on? And the first clue that we should have known that he wasn't getting the job, and it was a 9-hour interview, because that is too long to spend with Jim Harbaugh and want to hire him. I'm sorry.
Is he going to get a refund on the pod unit he had? Because I'm sure he was already packing his boxes. But the funny thing is that their non-conference schedule of the Pep Boys, Manny, Mo, and Jack. I mean, they're not playing anybody. I mean, they've already got 9 built-in wins next season or whatever. So they're going to be the people who are going to try and say, well, he's still a great coach or whatever. I mean, I'm sure he's a fine coach. He's just a weird dude. But I don't know, as we have here in the comment right there, I don't know how he walks into Schembechler Hall and is able to look people in the eye at this point. All will be forgotten here at some point. I can guarantee you where things won't be forgotten, and that's the recruiting trail. Oh, yeah, go play for Michigan and go sit there, who's going to be your head coach? You don't know from year to year. I mean, because he's made it pretty clear that he wants to be in the league. He wants to sit there and have what his brother has, and that's a Super Bowl title. I don't know how you walk away from this and say, okay, we are now back to ground zero. We're back to square one. I mean, everybody's cool. Everybody's happy with each other because he was ready to go. And, there certainly are the reports out there that Jim Harbaugh and Ward Manuel don't see eye to eye. So I just don't know how this works moving forward. I put the timeline on Jim Harbaugh's tenure at Michigan on the short side. I don't see him there in 4 seasons. I don't know if I see him there in 3 seasons. I think that we're seeing this thing start to wind down.
I think what's going to happen, all Jim Harbaugh needs to do is do what I do whenever I have said something to bother my wife or done something to annoy her or make her angry. I go, come on. Come on. And eventually, enough of that, she'll forgive me. That's all Jim Harbaugh needs to do. Just walk in, whoever he sees in Schembechler Hall, and just be like, come on. Come on. And then enough of that, and you're like, you're right. You've made a strong case. And then you just move on.
All right. We do have a number of 4227s in the live chat. So that's
it's from the same guy. He's just, God bless you, Phil. You're putting up a good fight, once.
He's putting up a fight. I don't know if it's a good one because he doesn't have a plan B. But plan A is 4227. We understand what the final score was. I don't know if the typical Michigan fan, reasonable but expecting Michigan fan, is really going to be in love with, okay, it felt good on November, whatever the date was, the last Saturday of November. That was a great scene. It felt good. It was amazing. The Big Ten championship trophy, finally hoisting that for the first time in 17. Yes, it was a really good season. But isn't Michigan supposed to do that every 3 or 4 years at least? So we will see. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but it only felt that amazing and that incredible because it just never happens. And it's supposed to happen throughout my lifetime. That's a normal thing, to share the Big Ten with Ohio State and, wage this war of championships, not win it once every 17 years and it to be the pinnacle of your coaching career and life. So yes, great accomplishment, but it should be the norm.
The Cicadas are undefeated once every 17 years too. So whatever. I mean, they both bug me.
Well, Ohio State won the Big Ten championship in 2020, and they made the national championship game. Ask fans how they view that season. There's not a ton of great memories around that season, and they certainly did everything that they could all up to one point. And winning a Big Ten championship, obviously, it just means more to Michigan at this point, I guess.
When you don't do it, it does mean more. And again, great season. They won the game, and we know what the accomplishments were. We also know, and I was conjecturing whether this was going to factor into Jim Harbaugh's decision, if he had a decision in the end. Apparently he did not. It wasn't his decision to make. But did he see Michigan as, okay, I've brought it to this point and we're going to keep going? This is a good indicator. We've now finally, slayed the dragon, and we're going to break through, and we're going to continue these breakthroughs. And, he made some kind of statement like that after the Orange Bowl. Okay, well, this is just the beginning kind of thing. Well, I don't know if he truly believed that, or he thought, I got to take off for the NFL because I've done everything I can possibly do here, and this was amazing. But I'm not going to get this program to where I can take on the Georgias of the world. So I've hit the ceiling, and I need to get out of Dodge.
I think you're giving him too much credit that he gave it that much thought. This is about Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh wants to be in the NFL. Jim Harbaugh is going to go get an NFL job. Oh, wait, Jim Harbaugh didn't get a job offer. I guess Jim Harbaugh has to go back to Michigan at this point. I don't know if he necessarily took inventory of, well, we've made it this far. We've gotten to this plateau. I don't know if we're going to be able to go beyond this plateau. I think this was just more of Jim wanting to go to the league. And I think that all rational thought stopped at that point.
To Tony's earlier point, I think we would all be on the same page between Dave Aranda, Bill O'Brien, Matt Campbell, Matt Rule. We could tack on a few more. One of them, I would think, would take the Michigan job and be at least as good as Jim Harbaugh, and would want to be there, and would come in and hair on fire, ready to roll.
I think any of those guys, whoever would take that job, would see it as their last job. Jim Harbaugh, clearly, he may say it now, but he didn't see Michigan as his last job, and he sees the NFL as his future, and will continue to see the NFL as his future until he retires from Michigan in, whenever. Like, you're never going to be able to convince people that he's not going to be looking now, and that's going to be brought up constantly in recruiting, as Kevin said.